Right, because of the coolant leak issue, I can't run the engine anymore, so I can't show you the oil leak. But just know that down the bottom it sprays out in a fine mist. I think it's exaggerated or exacerbated by the fact that I've cleaned a lot of the gunk off there when I was doing the cam belt. So anyway, today's job is to start taking the cam belt off and start preparing us for removal of the bottom pulley. If this looks familiar, it should do, because we were here just a few days ago. Now the oil leak I've discovered is coming out here, and you can actually see the gasket, which I think historically has been blown for some time given the state of it, has pushed out the side of this metal plate here, which runs up and over and behind the crank sprocket. So that is why we're pissing oil everywhere. I think it's particularly bad now because we disturbed this area when we were working. So I think originally it was kind of masked by my original oil leak. I thought this was all coming from that top end, but in actual fact I think a lot's coming out the bottom here. So the work we have to do is remove the cam belt, which we've done recently, and then it's to take that 19mm bolt out, which is a one-time use bolt. I've got another one on order, and that allows us to take that pulley off. We also had to take the distributor drive pulley off because I think there's a bolt hiding behind it. Yeah, so as simple as that sounds, this is an automatic vehicle. I cannot lock the engine in position using the gearbox. It has to be done with physically restraining the engine. The Haynes manual recommends taking the starter motor out and putting a pry bar in there, but what they fail to take into account is the starter motor change on this particular vehicle is a huge job. It's an on the ramp job, one even I wouldn't anticipate doing. It's not an on the drive thing. It basically involves taking out drive shafts, engine mounts, and getting up underneath the exhaust manifold. I digress. So in order to lock the engine without using the starter motor out method, I'm going to attempt something called the rope trick, and I'll describe that later, but essentially it involves holding a piston in place and enabling us to undo that very high torque bolt. So I'll bring you back when I'm ready to show you what that's about. Now it's time to attempt the rope trick. I've never tried this before. Basically it involves partially filling the cylinder with nylon rope, so that when you pull back or try to loosen the nut, the piston comes up and hits this soft cushion, and this soft cushion compresses against the top of the cylinder head and allows you to stop the engine rotating and allows you to undo the nut. And like I say, I've never done this before. I've seen this done on videos, both automotive and aeronautical. So I'm going to give it a go and see how well it works. If it works, then it's a lifesaver because it saves a lot of trouble. Right, realistically I've got about as much rope as I can get in there. I mean, I don't know how much it needs, but we'll give that a go. I very much doubt it's going to be able to compress the amount of rope that I put in there. At least I hope it won't be. Otherwise we'll be back to square one again. I'm going to attempt to do the idle gear. I'm just going to break the nut free, and then we'll move down to the bigger nut at the bottom. Okay, the piston's come up. It doesn't want to move, so hopefully we're... Ooh, that has just jumped teeth. It's jumping on the belt. I was not anticipating that. I hope we haven't fucked the belt while we were doing that as well. That could be an issue. Oh well, I guess it's a new timing belt as well, even though this is a brand new one. Shows the internet doesn't know everything. Nope, that ain't coming off. Right, I use Russell's homemade tool. Hopefully this will lock that in place. Yeah, gotcha. Should have done that in the first place. Let's hope the bottom doesn't slip like the top. I've got no way of holding that. Right, so that's loose now. That's good. It's not good because the belt slipped, so it might. I think it's a change of belt. Right, I'm going to attempt the 19mm at the bottom. I'm hoping this one doesn't slip like the other one did. Otherwise, I'm going to have to come up with yet another method of fixing it. Now this one should be a tight bastard, so okay. Let's just see how we get on with this. Come on. Break it, mate. Come on. Come on. You can do this. Is that it? Is that gone? Gee. It's going to be fun talking this up. There we go. Well, at least it's gone. That's the important bit. Whew. So the intermediate pulley just slid off. The Woodruff key I'm going to leave in there. I'm not going to mess with that because it's quite well adhered in there, and we'll just have to keep an eye and make sure that doesn't disappear and make sure it's there when we reassemble. Okay, that's keyed internally, so it's not a separate Woodruff key, or at least it doesn't look like it. I'm going to keep this all together in a bag so we don't get it lost, but we'll just make sure that that's all together when it goes back on. I've cleaned the area up a bit with brake cleaner. You can clearly see the gasket that's blown out the side of that plate, and that's exactly where I'm seeing oil spraying from. I suspect it's gotten worse since I did the cam belt, because two of those bolts actually are part of the securing system for that plate, so it may have exacerbated it. But either way, I think that leak's been going for a long time, judging by the staining on the and the dirt stuck to the gasket, so I don't know how much difference I made. Another point of interest is I skimped and didn't order a new seal and O-ring for this. I'm beginning to think I should have done, because it looks like that might be weeping slightly. I think I'm going to add another O-ring and gasket, O-ring and seal to the list, and change that while I've got access to it. I've cracked all the nuts around that plate, and the three on the sump that go through the sump into that plate. They're all free, and I've just nipped them up to stop any oil leaks or weeps. I can't go any further now until the spare parts arrive, so I'm going to get on and order the extra bits I need, which is another seal and the very expensive wax static part for the carburetor. I'm opting to stick with the Pierberg for the time being. If I do decide to write the Pierberg off later, that wax stat alone will probably get me half my money back in the second-hand market. So anyway, next video will be when I get the spare parts, possibly next weekend.